This is an Eye on Annapolis special update.
Hey, this is going to be a quick one, but a fun one. Well, for me at least. The other week, as the landlubbers were baking in 100-degree heat, I got another chance to go check out the work on the Point Shoal Lighthouse. If you'll remember, last year, the lighthouse was in rough shape and literally in danger of falling down. The beams that held up the structure were so rusted that they needed to be replaced. Fast forward to today, all but one of them have been replaced, and the remaining one will happen when enough money is raised. They need about 50 grand. So here you are, from the Point Shoal Lighthouse, complete with wind and lapping water.
We're actually out here on the Thomas Point Lighthouse. We're on the lower deck, I don't know, veranda, what do we call it on this, John? With John Potvin, who is the preservationist for the U.S. Lighthouse Society in charge of the restoration of the Point Shoal Lighthouse.
How are you, John?
I'm good.
Excellent.
We were here about a year ago, and man, you guys have done an incredible amount of work.
We have. We've actually replaced the entire knees and joints of the lighthouse underneath through the wonderful efforts of the public funding this, giving us money, sending us through money through the GoFundMe campaign, sending us money through the gala that we had last year. But with just a tremendous amount of support from the public, as well as the Maryland Historic Trust, the Merrick Foundation, the Davidsonville Rotary Club, and the U.S. Lighthouse Society. They all came forth and raised $430,000 for us to get this job done.
That's incredible. And you said the joints and the bones, if you will, of this. And again, for those that aren't familiar, there are 8 screw piles that go down?
There are a total of 8 screw piles that go down, plus 3 at the very edge for a nightstand. But yes, a total of 8.
And they had been rotting since 1875.
They've been here since 1875. They're not rotting. They're solid cast iron. So they're in great shape. It's not the issue of the screw piles. It's actually the structure, the steel structure, that secures the lighthouse from toppling off into the bay.
Okay, so it's the beams that are connecting the screw piles that give the support to the structure itself.
Exactly.
And what was the lifespan of the ones that we just took out?
The ones that were put in here were put in about 1999. They didn't stand the test of time, so we had to do a special coating with these with zinc and 2-part enamels and epoxies. But we expect to get about 40 years out of the steel that we put up.
Okay, so you've doubled the life expectancy of the last time they did it. So
right.
That's not a bad deal. I know we're not doing tours of the lighthouse this summer, unfortunately, because of COVID. But what all is going on upstairs? I know we just walked through there, and it looks like it's almost done.
Well, you're never done on a lighthouse. There's
like
never a moment where you say, okay, I'm done, because there's always something else that will come up. But we have continue to do a preservation job out here with replacing exterior siding that fails. We had a beam last year that failed, and we had to replace that. That required that we remove the privy and reinstall it. But it is, for all intents and purposes, probably 95% completed at this point. And we didn't do any tours this year because of the COVID virus. But we will be back running tours next year, and we're very excited about that. We'll start at the beginning of June next year with the tours.
You know, I will say, and I've said this before, the tour is not the least expensive tour. It's not the $15 watermark tour going up the Severn River for 45 minutes. It is a good, several-hour tour, and it is well worth it to see this piece of history. It's, I don't know the cost. I think it's probably close to $75 or maybe even $100, but well worth the cost to do it. You can get information on that at the Annapolis Maritime Museum and Park, which is amaritime.org. But where do we find out more about the Point Shoal Lighthouse? What's the best place?
Well, Thomas Point has its own website. You can just go to thomaspointshoal.com or .org, I should say. And you can learn a lot more about the individual lighthouse, or you can go to United States Lighthouse Society's website, uslhs.org, and you can also buy the tours through there. The tours are $85.
I was close.
Yeah, you were close. We run out of the Annapolis Maritime Museum with the tours every Saturday, starting in June until the middle of October. And we always get a smile on everybody's face that comes back. We have 2 docents that go out with every tour. We have a safety officer and a communications officer, and we have a whole support team ashore. So there's a lot of people involved in this. We have about 38 docents right now who provide their services out here on a regular basis, and they know the history of the lighthouse. They go through and put the personality to the lighthouse when we come and do the tours. And people walk away from here saying, man, this was the greatest tour I've ever been on.
I will agree with every one of those people that walk away. I've been here several times, and it's more and more fascinating every time that I do step aboard. I don't know whether step aboard is the word for when you come
It is
ashore.
step aboard, yes.
Of a lighthouse, but it is fantastic. Learn a little bit more about this, and if you get a chance, get the opportunity, I wholeheartedly recommend you come out to do it. And if you can contribute, I'm assuming at thomaspointshoal.org.
You could actually go to the United States Lighthouse Society, uslhs.org, and there's a drop-down menu for donations, and make sure you click on Fort Thomas Point, otherwise it'll go into their general fund. So click on Thomas Point Lighthouse, and that money comes directly to us to maintain and help support this lighthouse. Since we have not had any tours this year, we have no income. So, we are obviously always asking people to try and help us out and get this preservation continued.
And it should be noted too that this is the maintenance of this is pretty much an all-volunteer operation.
It is all volunteers. We have
Yes,
preservationists, we have woodworkers. They work their souls out, and I'm very pleased with the work they've done out here. I've been involved for the past 5 years, and I meet people. They are always willing to give their time and effort to the lighthouse. And every time I come out here, I learn something else. Even today, I learned something else about the lighthouse every single time I come out here.
And you've been doing this for how many years?
5 years.
Well, I know, and even down to the paint. I mean, you had a corporate sponsor, if you will, that donates the paint, which is a special kind of a paint. I mean, this is not something you're going to put on your living room wall because we're out here in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay.
No, we use an oil-based paint, and it's provided by Fine Paints of Europe. We just call them, and they send us the paint, and the volunteers get it up on the walls.
That's fantastic. John Potvin, thank you very much. Again, check them out at thomaspointshoal.org.
thomaspointshoal.org.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
When the tours resume next summer, hopefully, do make it a plan to come visit. This is such a unique tour, and to see how the lightkeepers lived in this little house several miles offshore is such an incredible experience, and one that you won't soon forget, and one that I try to do as often as I can. So now let's jump over to a quick conversation with Dave Gendell on his book, Thomas Point Shoal Lighthouse, a Chesapeake Bay Icon, which will be available in October.
We've got an even split between history and present day. Deep dive into a few of the keepers. My favorite keeper was the very first keeper in 1875. He was wounded at the Battle of Antietam on the Bloody Lane fighting for the Union, and wounded veteran they assigned out here. He was the first keeper and had a lot of adventures. His name was Eugene Birchinall, so big chapter on him in the book.
Fantastic. Well, the book is coming out, you said October 12th.
Yes, sir.
You can pre-order it at Amazon.com.
Yes, sir.
And what is the full official title, or do we have that
So
yet?
I'm, as a guy that was sitting at the table when we named Spin Sheet Magazine, and my vote was to name the magazine Chesapeake Bay Sailing. I'm a big believer in name it what it is, right? So the book is called Thomas Point Shoal Lighthouse, a Chesapeake Bay Icon.
That makes perfect sense, and this is certainly an icon out here sitting off of the point of Thomas Point.
Yes, sir.
And Dave Gendell, who is the author, is a lifelong Annapolitan, has put it all together for us, coming out October 12th. Definitely get over to the Maritime Museum when it is for sale, or the boat show,
Faucets.
or Amazon, Faucets, any of the places, usual suspects, I imagine, will
That's
probably
right.
be in
That's right.
local
Hopefully the
bookstores.
boatyard market. We can slip over there. It'll be easy to find. And if you're out of the area, you can order it on Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, Target.com, etc.
Fantastic. Oh, one last question. Did you sleep out here?
I've not slipped out here yet. I'm still angling for that invitation from John Potvin. Working on that one. I would though. I would.
I totally would too. This would be a great summer house.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me, and it was fun being out here on the lighthouse with you today.
Thanks.
And as we wrap this up, I do want to encourage you to go check out our story on eyeonannapolis.net on this trip. There will be a link in the show notes, but we do have some fantastic photos of the work that has been done to date, as well as a real cool video of the trip.
This has been an update from Eye on Annapolis. Please visit us at eyeonannapolis.net. Follow us on Twitter at Eye on Annapolis. And be sure to subscribe to our daily news brief podcast, which is delivered every Monday through Friday to your phone or device at 7 a.m.